Thanks, Gregor. Hey, Blake. This question's for Blake. When you take a look at what Connor Hellebuyck has done for your team so far this year, and then heading into a series against a guy like Carey Price that you've been around in the league long enough to see the things that he's pulled off, what do you expect as far as a goaltender duel heading into this series?
Yeah, two of the best in the game. I mean, Carey Price is, probably top goalie of my generation. He has shown the ability to steal games, steal big moments, had a big part in their success in the last series too. So nothing but respect for what he's done. Obviously, we think very highly of Helly and, the accomplishments he's had in the couple of years in the league. And so I think the overriding theme is that you just got to be patient, allow our goalie to do his thing and just understand that we're going against a team that is going to play the same way around their goalie. Try to let him see the puck, and they feel that, if he's seeing pucks, he's going to stop them all. So can't get frustrated, can't get worked up if you get a scoring chance and he makes a big save, because that's what he tends to do. And, you can't let that deter you from keep, putting the puck at the net.
We'll go next to Murat Atesh from The Athletic. Go ahead, Murat.
Thanks, Gregor. Good morning, guys. This one is for Blake as well. I'm just wondering, the overall theme has always been play your game. But when you go from kind of a matchup against the McDavid style to Montreal, who uses Danault in just such an intense matchup defensive role, does it change any of the details, and how does it change your preparation for what you're going to be looking at?
No, I think it's going to, the matchup will probably be a little bit different. I'm not exactly sure what Paul's going to want to do at home. It would certainly seem as though that would be the matchup, in Montreal. And same thing, just, have respect for the fact that you're playing against guys that are, that's their job, and they're good at it, and they've had success doing it, and they've built confidence doing it. And, you can't get frustrated by that. You can't let that deter you from, still making the plays and still, putting the puck at the net. But you got to realize that, we've been playing against that matchup for a lot of years. That's nothing new for us. Pretty much every playoff series we've played in, minus the last one against Edmonton. We're playing against the other team's shutdown matchup. They're shutdown defensemen, they're shutdown forwards. So it's something that we have experience with, and something that we can draw on that experience, and just, even if we're getting shut out and, they're doing a great job against us, that's where we rely on the depth of our team. And I think that's the strength of our team.
We'll go next to Ken Weaver from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Thanks, Gregor. Morning, guys. For Josh to start, please. Puck management was something you guys really focused on in the first round. How important is that against a Canadiens team that likes to try to force their opponent into making mistakes?
Yeah, it's extremely important. I think over, in the playoffs, it's just really important in general. Those both teams in the playoffs, generally play harder defensively and more committed defensive game. And when you turn pucks over in tough areas, it can hurt you, and that's really what you're trying to avoid. So I think it's much of the same with Montreal as it was for us against Edmonton. They're fast and they transition really well off of turnovers, and they generate a fair amount of offense and chaos off of that. So we're going to have to keep managing the puck here, and building off of the game we were putting on display against Edmonton.
We'll go next to Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Gregor. Questions for Blake. Blake, I don't know how much of the Toronto-Montreal series you were able to catch, but if you were able to catch the series, just what you took from Montreal and what you saw in those final three games as they completed the comeback.
Yeah, I think they did a great job of forcing Toronto into making mistakes. I think that's what their game's predicated on, is just applying pressure and trying to get the other team into changing their game. That's what playoff hockey is all about. It's both teams are going to have a game plan. It's going to go, everyone's going to be stuck to that game plan for a while. And then when it gets tough and there's pressure and you want to score and you want to make the big play, who gets away from their game plan? That's what playoff hockey is all about. And then, that's where you start to see things, bad turnovers or what have you, and mistakes. And that's where Montreal capitalized. They were patient enough to know that they have a really good goaltender, and they just need to capitalize on a couple of mistakes here and there. And when those moments came up, they buried them. And that was kind of the turning point for me in the series.
We'll go back to Jeff Hamilton for a follow-up. Go ahead, Jeff.
Appreciate the answer, Blake. Just have a quick follow-up on that one. You feel like you have an edge here that you guys have had, a fair amount of time off. They obviously had to go 7 games. You feel there's an edge for you guys starting this series?
I think it's hard to pinpoint how that works. I've seen where, the team comes off an emotional game 7 win and, they have an awesome game 1. We did that a couple of years ago. We had an emotional win against Nashville and we came out and we were flying high in game 1 against Vegas. So there's really no template for it. It's one of those things where you just kind of see how it goes. I'm anticipating this to be, a patient series, one where, there's not going to be probably a ton of breakaways going back and forth, 2 teams understanding what their strengths are, and their strength starts in their net. And so, with a series like that, there's not going to be kind of probably that game where it's like, one team dominated the other. It's going to be a lot of back and forth and a lot of grinding and just, forcing our wills upon each other.
Go next to Eric Engels from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Eric.
Thanks, Gregor. This question's also for Blake. Just because I know Josh, you would know Ben Sherratt pretty well, but Blake, you're going to have to play up against him quite a bit. I'm wondering if you had a chance to touch base with him as your former teammate and what you made of the first series and what that challenge will be like going up against him and Shea Weber as a pairing.
Yeah, they're very tough to play against. Two big bodies, 2 guys that can make a really good first pass. Benny's one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with. We still have a really good relationship to this day. Under any other circumstance, we'd probably, see each other today or talk at least. But there's a lot on the line, and those things go out the window in a series like this. It's going to be a tough matchup. Matched up against that guy a lot in practice over the years, and he's a guy that always makes it work. So looking forward to the challenge, and it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a grind, and hopefully we can make it a grind for them as well.
We'll go next to Simon Olivier Lorange from La Presse. Go ahead, Simon.
Good morning. My question is for Josh. The Toronto Maple Leafs had a lot of success against the Canadiens during the season, and we all saw what happened next. Your team had a lot of success against the Canadiens this season with 6 wins in 9 games, even though 3 of them were in overtime. What do you expect from the Canadiens? Do you expect it to be the same team that you faced in the season, or do you kind of saw a different team in the first round?
Yeah, I think the playoffs are a totally different scenario. Obviously, you said it right there. I think we go 6-3, they go 3-3-3. 3 overtime games or extra time games. That's where it obviously shows how close the matchup was between our 2 teams. And I think once you get into the playoffs, as we saw with Edmonton in our series with them, what you've done in the regular season really doesn't matter anymore. And I think both teams have sort of found their game, down the stretch and throughout the first round. I think there's a lot of similarities in some of the defensive elements of the game that both teams have really keyed in on. And so, I think overall, both teams have sort of peaked at the right time, and it's going to be a tough defensive series. I think, just like Wheel said, a patient series with great goaltending. And so I guess to simply answer your question, regular season's out of the window, and I think both teams have sort of found their stride, if you will, and are different teams than what we saw in the regular season.
We'll go back to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Thanks, Gregor. This one's for Josh. Josh, I'm just wondering from what you know of Connor Hellebuck, and we love talking to him. We love how he approaches the game and how he pushes himself to get better. How do you expect him to respond to the challenge of going up against a guy like Carey Price, who you heard Blake say is, probably the greatest goaltender of a generation?
Well, I mean, I think, Helly's a very intense guy, and, he finds intensity in all, different ways. And I'm sure that, again, you'd probably have to ask him that question directly, but, I know that Helly has a singular goal, and that's to try to win and win hockey games. And so, I expect that, obviously, being that it's Carey Price with his resume or somebody else, he's going to try to bring his best game and do so to try to help us win. And he spoke about that being his main focus right now. So, it should be a great goaltending matchup, as we've talked about here. And, we have the world of confidence in Helly, that's for sure.
Just a couple more for the guys. We'll go next to Ted Wyman from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Ted.
Josh, do you expect this to be a more physical series than the one against Edmonton, particularly with the size of some of the Canadians forwards like Perry and Anderson and Armia?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just playoff hockey, really. I think looking at the first round, maybe there wasn't a ton of massive hits, but looking at the stat sheet and whatnot, checks were finished, and I assume it'll be the same here. That's part of the playoffs, and the intensity's ramped up. Everything means more, and that's really part of the game. So yeah, I mean, I think there'll be a physical element to the series, but like I said, that kind of just goes hand in hand with this time of year.
And final question to Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weber.
Gregor, for Blake, please. How would you describe the opportunity of being back in the second round and being 4 wins away from the Final Four?
Got a hockey game tomorrow finally, so just looking forward to that. There's you can't get too far ahead of yourself, because all of a sudden you lose a game or two and the context of that question changes quite a bit. So I'm excited to still be playing. Obviously the first round was very exciting and made some good memories in that first round, but this is a whole new ball game, whole different team, whole different scenario. It's going to be a grind. I mean, this is going to be, we're looking forward to 7 games of just slugging it out. You know what I mean? And if we do a good enough job, maybe we'll have an opportunity to move on, but we're not looking past tomorrow.